Hi, we're going to be talking about ordering integers, but before we do that, we have to go over some of the definitions that we have here. Integers, these are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. It means we are not going to be dealing with decimals or fractions, just the whole numbers and their opposites or negatives. You're going to have positive numbers in an integer. These are numbers that are greater than 0 on the number line. The positive numbers are going to be to the right of 0. Like your counting numbers. The negative numbers, however, are going to be numbers that are less than 0, and they're going to be found to the left of the number line of 0. So we're going to be looking at 0, another definition, just so you know, that 0 is neither considered positive or negative. We're going to be talking about some key words, and this is really going to be helpful when you start to look at word problems. For positive, you're going to hear words like gain. You're going to see things like above sea level, up, rise, increase, and deposit. Deposit means when you have money and you're going to put it into the bank. That means you are putting money in or adding money to your account. Negative words are going to be stuff like loss. Below sea level, down, decreases, or withdrawal. If I'm going to be using a withdrawal or taking a withdrawal out of my banking account, I'm subtracting money out or taking it out. So deposit and withdrawal are going to be banking terms that we were going to be working with some of our word problems. 0 means if we're talking at sea level, that means it's going to be right at 0, and we're also going to be talking about origin. So these are some words that you need to know so when we start working with word problems. Now, we're going to use this number line to compare integers. We're going to use the less than, the greater than, and the equal to. Like we said, we have 0. It's neither positive or negative. All of our positive numbers are to the right of 0, and all of our negative numbers are to the left of 0. The further we go to the right, the greater or the more our number is going to be. The further we go to the left, the less our number is going to be. So negative 30 is going to be a whole lot less than negative 5. Think of it this way. I would rather owe somebody $5 than I would owe them $30. So when we look at these, we're going to go back here on the number line, and we're going to write some of these down with looking at negative 3. Between 0 and negative 5, I know negative 3 is probably right about here. This is negative 3, okay? And negative 5 is right here. So when I compare these two, which one is greater to 0? The one that is greater to 0 is going to be actually is going to be the larger number when I'm looking to the left of the 0. So I know that negative 3 is going to be greater than negative 5 because I want it as close to 0 as possible. When I'm reading a number line, anything to the right, when I'm comparing two numbers, the number on the right is the greater number. When I'm looking at negative 22 and 0, negative 22 is going to be about right here, okay? So negative 22 is here, and 0 is right here. 0 is further up to the right of negative 22, so 0 is going to be the greater number. But when I'm writing this and reading it, I'm going to be reading it left to right like we do everything. Negative 22 is going to be less than 0 because it is far less when I go to the left. Look at negative 9. Negative 9 is going to be right here by negative 10, okay? And I've got a negative 4, which is going to be right here, right closer to negative 5. So when I'm looking at negative 9 and negative 4 is to the right of negative 9, so negative 4 is the greater number. But when I'm writing it, I'm going to write negative 9 is less than negative 4. Let's look at 7 and negative 7. 7 is in a positive 7 area, and negative 7 has got to be between negative 5 and negative 10. Negative 7 is going to be about right here. So when I'm comparing negative 7 and 7, this 7 is to the right of the negative 7. So I know that negative 7 is greater than I know that 7 is greater than negative 7. Okay? Now, let's graph an order from least to greatest. If I'm looking at these, I've already plotted all of these. I've got a negative 4, which I plotted here. A negative 9 is going to be between negative 8 and 10. 8 is going to be over here. 2 is going to be here, and negative 5 is going to be between negative 4 and negative 6. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to read it from left to right, just like we do with our language. So I'm going to start with negative 9, start at the very left. It's going to be my least number. And I'm going to look for negative 5. It's going to be my next least number. And then I'm going to start going up from there, which will be negative 4, 2, and 8. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got all of them together. Okay? Now, if you want to at this point, why don't you pause the video and try to do this one on your own and play it again, and then you can see if you got it right. All right, I've already plotted the points. I know I've got a negative 3. I've got a 9 that's way up here. I've got a 1, which is between 0 and 2. Negative 4, and I've got a negative 7, which is going to be between negative 6 and negative 8. Go to my furthest left-hand side of my number line, and it's going to read as negative 7, negative 4, negative 3, 1, and 9. And this is going to be read from least to greatest. Okay? Always pay attention to this. Now, I'm going to try this without using a number line. When it tells me to write in ascending order, that means write it from the least number that is on there to the greatest. So what I'm going to do is I am going to circle my actual negative numbers. So let's circle negative 122, negative 30, negative 12. Okay, remember the number line. That's on the far left is going to be your least amount, is your least number. So negative 122 is the furthest from 0. The next one is going to be negative 30. And the negative 12 is the next. And negative 4, I forgot to do that, but that's also going to be the next one that's closest to 0. Now I've got 0, 5, and 12. And these happen to be in order because you start with 0. The next number I'm going to have to the right is 5, and then the last number is going to be 12. So this is the number written in least to greatest or ascending order. And remember, I've got that word on our word wall. You can look at that. Write in descending order from the greatest to the least using the same numbers. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to look now from the greatest number. I want to underline the 0, the 5, the 12. Okay, these are the greatest numbers, and we already know that 12 is greater than 5. The next least number is going to be 5. Then we're going to go to 0. We're counting from the greatest down or in descending order. Now, let's circle our negatives. And I know from 0, the next number that I'm going to go to is negative 4. The next one will be negative 12. All right. Our next one will be negative 30, and the next one will be negative 122, okay? So these are going to be our numbers written in descending order from the greatest number all the way down to the least. You could have said, oh, well, we could have just gone up there and copied that number just copied it backwards, and that's going to be what it is. But you don't want to cheat because you need to know how to do this without a number line, because in this case, we've got a negative 122. And if you want to draw a number line all the way down to negative 122, you can, but it's going to be a little bit hard. So we're going to be working with some of this week. We're going to be talking about the difference in sea levels. We're going to be talking how we use integers in everyday life.